Yep, it is done.
Perfect. Thanks, Samir.
Welcome.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks so much for taking some time over lunch today. We're excited to introduce one of our supplier partners, TetraVX. They're based right here downtown in Chicago. And in conjunction with our conversation around cloud, today we were wanting to talk about cloud readiness and making sure your clients are cloud ready. Obviously, we've been working with a bunch of you, moving some of your clients to cloud-based phone systems and so on and so forth. And inevitably, in that process, we tend to find out, oh man, there's something wrong with X, Y, or Z as far as the client's infrastructure is concerned, and they weren't necessarily ready for that migration. So, thought I spoke with the folks at TetraVX, and they actually have an offering which they leverage. They obviously, I'm going to obviously let them introduce themselves, etc. But obviously, one of their service offerings is a cloud-based unified communication solution, right? So they're very dedicated to making sure that their customers on their cloud voice platform get the best experience. So they've actually productized a cloud readiness assessment, and they also provide some ability to not only do an upfront assessment, but also to ongoingly track the performance of their clients' networks, etc. So with that, I wanted to hand over to Luke and Samir, and they're going to run through the rest of the webinar/demo, and absolutely encourage you guys to throw out any questions that you may have regarding their solution itself, but B, the whole concept, etc., and what we're trying to really achieve here. So feel free to jump in, ask questions as you go. With that, over to you, Luke. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you allowing us to present today, and great to meet everybody. Samir, if you can hit the next slide here. Today's presenters are going to be myself, Luke Meisner. I am a senior account executive at TetraVX, as well as I brought in Samir Patel, who's one of the partners and directors for TetraVX. Samir is very knowledgeable on the IT side, technical side of things, where my role mostly sits in sales enablement and really enabling partners, including USA Voice and Data and their subagents to your guys' self, with solutions that we're able to explore and provide here. If you want to go to the next slide for Samir. Agenda today, definitely want to give you a background on TetraVX and who we are, and then we'll go into why these cloud assessments are necessary. I know you guys have had 2 webinars over the past quarter already, so definitely want to build deeper on some of the conversations that you guys have had, answer some questions around going to the cloud, and then give you a good overview of what our UC readiness assessment looks like. From there, we'll go into identifying opportunities, how to do so, and then how to go from registering ops. So I definitely don't want to kill you guys by PowerPoint here. And I know that on the chat bar for those that are you in the WebEx, as questions come, please enter them into the chat, and then I will make sure those are addressed when it makes sense through the presentation or at the end when we're ready to answer those. So just quickly an overview of TetraVX. Just want to give you this understanding of who we are, the pedigree, and understanding of how long we've been doing this. We've been delivering voice services and cloud services really since 2000 and beforehand. Specific to voice, beginning in 2000, you can see there, moving to CUCM in 2008, Microsoft UCAS in 2015, and then much of what we're going to be talking about is an acquisition that we made in 2018 for what's called Alert Pro, which is our UC Readiness both assessment, the one-time, as well as the ongoing and recurring revenue model that you guys will have access to. We've been partnered with them for many years, just decided to bring them into our portfolio so that we could further develop and build the great product that they had thus far. You can see some of our partners that we work with. I'm sure a lot of them are partners that you had as well at the bottom there. So our process, we really like to focus on what we call are the bookends there. So the end user first and that change communication, technical requirements and implementation are, as you guys are aware, all stakeholders when it comes to providing a solution. What we pride ourselves in is really understanding how the different departments and how the end users currently use their environment and want to use their environment moving forward, understanding all of the technologies and features and functionalities that are available to them so that we can provide a really good solution and our customers and our partners are able to provide a really good solution that's going to make their customers happy. And at the end of the day, something that their end users are going to adopt. So the change communication, although it's at the end, really happens throughout that entire process through discovery, through implementation, as well as training and continued education of training. Next slide, please. Some of our voice offerings, again, just a high level, we're a Cisco shop, Skype for Business. We can offer those both in the cloud as well as on premise, and we have our own hosted solution, TetraVX, that we are putting a lot of R&D into with open APIs, ERP, CRM. So again, to have a really deep understanding of a lot of the technologies around voice. So when clients are going from an on-premise to the cloud, having that on-premise understanding and background and also the expertise within the cloud are really suitable to assist the partners and your customers in that migration and understanding what it takes to get there. And we can do hybrid environments across these different solutions. It doesn't just have to be one. So, multiple locations or a big headquarters that has 200 users and then, a couple branch offices with a couple is where we see those use cases. So, next slide, please. Again, today's focus is going to be on that at the top there that you see the UC Readiness Assessments as you guys are having conversations with your clients around moving to the cloud. Voice and video is definitely a very large part of that. That's where that focus is going to be today. But as I alluded to a little earlier, we have more experience than just UCAS. We understand the AV, we understand managed services, the professional services, how end users, adaptation and training, and so. Next slide, please. So why now, right? Why start having the conversation with your customers in regards to moving over to the cloud? If you aren't having that conversation today, I highly encourage you, as some might be late to the game, because everyone at this time is really looking into that from an end user standpoint. So being able to talk about that and explain how critical it is to assess their current infrastructure before moving or migrating to the cloud is really going to position yourself as a trusted advisor to your guys' customers. When moving to the cloud, or if they're not ready, go back, please. if you're not ready to move to the cloud or your client's not ready to move to the cloud, it's at least good to investigate kind of what work is going to be necessary for them when they do decide to make that move. So it's going to position them for success later on. And again, that good customer experience that I talked about previously and we'll discuss a little further too.
Yeah, I think I just want to add here, again, I think inevitably lots of customers, they have this idea in their mind of this is when I'm going to have budget available and so on and so forth. But they're basically planning out their whole digital transition to the cloud, right? And they haven't even researched what work needs to be done to get there. So again, I think one of the key things that we want to get over today is it's totally okay that they have no intention whatsoever to make any moves, right? Potentially till beginning of next year or whatever. But in order for them to effectively budget for that actual transition, they need to have a good sort of baseline of where they are today, and lots of them just don't have that. So I think that's so us or you bringing that to them and making that available to them, it puts them in a better position to pull the trigger as and when their budgets and their priorities dictate, but B, it positions you as the first person they're going to reach out to. Okay, hey, Dave, yes, it's time. We are definitely looking at, January 31st for us to have effectively transitioned to a cloud-based phone system or something, right? Or to move to Office 365 or whatever. So we're positioning ourselves to win that business so that they don't start looking at these different solution items without us, right? So that's kind of what I had to add here.
Yeah, right. And really, by having those conversations, you're ingraining yourself within those customers. You're being that trusted advisor to them, so that when they do decide to make that move, you're top of mind. You've already had these conversations and talked them through and really forecasted with them what it takes to move to the cloud. Next slide, please. So why they're necessary, right? Customer satisfaction is a huge point. At the end of the day, you want to provide a solution to your clients that they're happy with. And if they decide to move to the cloud without doing some type of assessment, you run the risk of a poor implementation, a poor experience. And at the end of the day, it can look back on the partner or the advisor or consultants, whatever it would be, on who moved forward with that is where that fault might lie. So customer satisfaction is a huge part of why these cloud readiness assessments are necessary. Because at the end of the day, if that IT decision maker, the director or whomever it would be, goes forward with the move to whether it's, Salesforce or Office 365 or a hosted solution or a new telepresence conferencing room, and end users aren't having a good experience, that CEO or that CFO is going to say, hey, it's a bad investment, right? So really mitigating that by being proactive with that implementation and that move forward there. Which falls in lines with the the end user adoption, and then the proactive support desk is part of that ongoing proactive alerting and monitoring tool that Alert Pro offers that we will dive deeper into once Samir takes over here. Next slide, please. So what must they confirm? A lot of the common issues that you're looking to uncover and items that you're looking to assess in regards to the LAN and WAN need to be addressed before moving to the cloud. So, do they need to, if they're moving to a 365 or Salesforce, do they have enough bandwidth to to really support that type of movement. Understanding that they have the right cabling in place, or the right switches and firewalls are in place. That's what this readiness assessment really helps confirm and validate or devalidate, and which can also help, if you want to go to the next slide, Samir.
Actually, I'm just going to throw in here on that is, we're going to find if there is a weakness in their WAN, for instance, we're going to get the opportunity to potentially get them some alternative connections and or just implement like an SD-WAN solution over their existing connections, so they're maximizing what they've already invested in those WAN connections that they have today. Still, there's an awful lot of clients out there with a typical sort of primary and backup types of infrastructure from a WAN perspective, where the backup network connection only ever gets leveraged when the primary goes down hard. And 99% of the time, what's going to happen is you're not going to get a primary connection going down hard. You're going to just get it performing badly, right? Maybe there's some packet loss or latency for some reason that's going on in that primary connection. That dumb firewall is not going to know and is not going to send the traffic over the backup connection until that circuit goes down hard. So with us being able to sort of throw in SD-WAN there, we can definitely solve a lot of the issues without a customer having to either upgrade their existing network connections or add to their network connections. So again, it's a great sort of lead in for additional capabilities that we can push out and obviously all commissionable for you guys.
Yeah, great point, and I think great transition into the next slide, Samir, if you'll take us there. What are the outcomes there? As Sam had just discussed, there's opportunities for further billable assessments or billable work, such as SD-WAN, and utilizing some of the investments that they had already made, with SD-WAN and the load balancing and prioritizing of different applications. That's a great outcome to come out of an assessment. Or maybe there's, a cabling opportunity for you, or from the assessment, for the remediation report that we provide, we'll dive deeper into, there could be an upgrade of firewalls or switches or licenses that are necessary when moving over to, as they prepare to deploy a cloud product. Again, improved customer relationship and trust. You really become that trusted advisor. You're having those deeper conversations, deepening those roots within that client, and building that relationship that you already have to bring more opportunities to your plate. And then as well as, we discussed some of the opportunities there and some ongoing services as well. So with that, I want to pass it over to Samir Patel, who's going to dive a little more technical into the UC Readiness Assessment and what it takes.
Thank you, Luke. So first of all, thank you for spending your lunch hour with us on this webinar to discuss the cloud readiness. So as Sam and Luke alluded to you, that there is a multiple opportunities. So cloud readiness is your entry point into the organization, whether it's a net new prospect or your existing customer. That would open so many doors, because when we see the cloud readiness does take place, we find so many opportunities for our partners that they can leverage this tool, whether client has the initiative or there was a poor call quality on a CEO's call, and you will hear it. Yes, we had a CEO call that's taking place. We had lots of issues with it, but we can't figure it out. And you will be able to say, oh, I can definitely help you with that. We have a tool set that gets you going, and usually these tool sets are very easy. It's very cost effective, first of all, but what it does is it finds the resolution and root cause analysis really fast. So it's quick in, quick out, and you establish the relationship, right? You become a trusted advisor, as Luke and Sam alluded as well. That's how you get it. But you will also see, or client will also find out as an outcome, that how many things that are misconfigured, they are not done right. So that opens up the opportunity for you, and it also helps the client. So whatever their next initiative is on the cloud side, whether it's a cloud PBX, whether it's Office 365, whether they are going with a Ring Central or 8x8 or contact center, right? When nowadays nobody wants to be on-premises contact center. Everybody wants to go online. Another thing to think about, if it's a companies who has a very young generation, they like to work on the mobile phone. So that is a wireless access point becomes a very key point as a part of the business to provide the good services. Otherwise, that impacts the internal productivity and customer satisfaction. So we looked at all these things when we heard our clients, and we come up with this product and what product does. So one of the things that we do is this tool does is it gathers the data, and the way it does it spans into the client's network, and it will create a database in a back end that, okay, how this whole network is set up. So one is, if the client doesn't have a network diagram, we'll have a full detailed discovery of the network and the IP address schema and the hardware, and we can also figure it out which version of the firewall or routers are. So right there, they will tell you that we will be able to tell you that all this hardware or routers you have, you are missing out this many security updates. You are missing the firmware updates, things like that. So that becomes, it enables the client to see, wow, I'm so behind, I need to do, but I don't have a people to do it. Can you guys help me with that? So that's where you get that the data gathering piece helps us. The second part we do is we do the silent call testing. What does that really mean? So what we do is we create the synthetic calls in between the two legs of the network. And we don't do just usually, like if you do Microsoft Network Assessment, for example, for Microsoft Teams or Office 365, what it does, it does only one call. One call, what does it give you? It gives you that you can make a phone call from one side to the other side, and it works. That's the only thing it tells you. What it doesn't tell you that if you have 100 people at that site and they are making 20 calls at a time, you can't figure it out, or you can't say, hey, I'm putting my $100 on it, and you will have a call anytime, any day, and it will work, and your user experience will be consistent. That is what we do with the call simulation. When we have a different time zone. So when we say is we have a logic built into it. Every time workforce comes into the organization from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., there is a call volumes are going up. Around 11 to 1, there might be low, but in the afternoon, there are meetings are taking place, the call volume goes up. We create the synthetic testing. And when we do that, we find there is a packet losses happening at this leg, or this router did not honor the QoS tagging, and it will pick it up and it will say, oh, you need to do this part. Why does that help you or your client? If client is having a, let's say, all hands on meeting or a leadership meeting, you can run the test ahead of a time and say, okay, can network support it if there are any issues, instead of having somebody to manually test it, where chances of human making errors are higher, versus having the push a button or automatically does the testing for you and give you the report is much easier, and they can fix it and they can run the synthetic testing again and say, okay, whether that fix improved or they made it worse. So things like that, the call simulation helps us. QoS assessment and cloud connectivity. everybody knows, right, in a PBX world or a VoIP world, as the market is shifting to the cloud side, whether it's a PBX workload or a collaboration workload or a conferencing or contact center or just the email. We want to know what type of QoS tagging are there. Whether if you have a video collaboration, really QoS helps you, because whether the traffic is honored, whether they are given the full priority in the firewall to router to each switch. Sometimes QoS is there, but router is not able to function properly because it does not have enough CPU and memory. We have seen that too. So this QoS assessment will find those things. Wireless assessment. How many times you are at your home and you are on a VoIP call and you are connected to Wi-Fi and you go from one room to another room to different floor, you may see the call quality fluctuation, and the further away you are going, that will tell you that, well, I got to stick to where my access points are in the home. Same thing goes in our office. Sometimes corporate IT try to cover the area as much as they can possibly do, but there are some weak spots where our wireless assessment will figure it out what those weak spots are via heat map, and it will point out, say, hey, you need to do it, you need to make a changes here. It also figure out what is the reason for a density. So when the different bands collide together with the different access point, we say, oh, you are running this access point on a 5 gigahertz, but the others are running in 2.4 gigahertz. So when the person walks from this location, you will have an issue. Let's fix it, whether you change everything to 5 gigahertz or keep everything to 2.4 gigahertz. We see this type of misconfiguration all the time, and it usually improves the client experience. Cloud connectivity. If you are connecting to, for example, let's say you are going to consume the TetraVX cloud services or Office 365, we would validate that whether your internet has a good connectivity, whether it has a packet loss and jitter. We will also see any issues in the delays that is happening on the ISPs. And we will report back to you, so you can report back to your prospect and say, hey, you have this circuit, you need to open a ticket with them, let's fix those things. It takes a couple of weeks, but once you're done, then that experience will be better, and they will value it. That, hey, this tool has saved me, because, you know, when we going from a point A to point B, point A being on-premises solution, point B being solution is moving to the cloud. So this cloud readiness assessment helped so many levels. It helps the decision maker who is making a decision, because somewhat they are unsure whether it will work or not. Yes, everybody else has a success. It doesn't mean that I will have a success, because at the end of the day, your infrastructure is your infrastructure, your configuration is your configuration. Let the tool do the work and give you the comfort level. Okay, your infrastructure is ready, and you have a cloud readiness confirming that you will be able to successful, right? So that kind of gives you takes most of the risk away from a cloud projects. And we also do the architecture review. If we find that the client has so many issues, we say your deployment is at the architecture level needs to make change. And these are the changes that you need to do, and this is how you can potentially do that. Whether they want to partner with you, great, that's an opportunity for you. If they want to do it by themselves, great, they can do that too. But there is another opportunity that, okay, once they made a change, let me do this assessment again, make sure that all the changes you have done is done correctly. So I talked a lot about a couple things in the last slide. I talked about synthetic testing, alerting. I didn't talk about alerting. So what we do is, if the client has a ServiceNow or any type of ticketing system, we can create the tool we leave behind, as they can use it as a monitoring tool moving forward for network. And that's a monthly recurring revenue for you guys where the tool will integrate with their ticketing system and notify the support team that, hey, there is an issue I see, whether it's a P1, P2, P3 tickets. We can create all those levels for the end customer to have that. It's always monitoring. You will have a centralized management. So it's not only the network it will monitor. Let's say your users are going to use the headset. Somebody used Jabra headset. Somebody used Plantronics headset. Now, Plantronics, as you probably know, has a new name. Polycom and Plantronics merged together, so the new name is Poly, P-O-L-Y. So those devices, Sennheiser devices, lots of people has Apple's new iPad, those little things that people use, right? Those devices, sometimes those devices are the issue. So tool will find out whether those endpoints are causing the issues or not. We also create like an advanced reporting. If client wants to know that, hey, I have 5 executives and I want to monitor, create a dashboard just for them. Anytime they have a different type of issues, I want to know right away. Instead of they telling me, I want to let them know that, hey, we saw that you had an issue. You may not have realized it, but we are working on it. How does that your customer will feel if you enable their IT to have that type of conversation with C-level? That would change the way they see their IT, right? They become a proactive from a reactive mode. These are some of the items that alert notifications that we do. Call quality analytics. We have all the analytics built into it. It will give you full analysis of what are the impacted calls are. And by a simple click, it will tell you whether the issue was with user's machine, user's desktop, user's network, or completely different thing that is not in your control because users was in a public Wi-Fi. We will be able to tell you what was the strength of the public Wi-Fi network was without installing anything. There is nothing that needs to install. We just pull those data in. As I mentioned, critical event notification. We integrate with any ticketing system and we can provide those tickets. We talked about advanced reports. We talked about VIP users. Now, the last part that we didn't talk about is usage and adoption. As we collect all the data centralizedly, we also notice what is the usage of the PSTN or peer-to-peer or cloud solutions they have. So as the users goes up, you will be able to assess from the tool that, wow, 2 months ago, I was having only people using, this many people were logged in, but usage wasn't there. Now usage is going up. That means your adoption is going up. And while the usage goes up, we will also tell you that this many users had a bad call, impact call got dropped in middle of that, and here are the reasons why, and you can always go back and make sure the network is tuned to the best to provide the consistent user experience.
Samir, what's the
yes.
What sort of workload is involved for running this Alert Pro monitoring stuff, and where is it actually running? Is it actually running on the devices themselves, or?
No, it runs in our data center. So what we do is we have all the brain power and the CPU and memory power is hosted into data center. So that's why you don't have to, or your partners don't have to do anything. What we do is you have 2 options. Option number 1, we give you a simple executable that can run on a virtual machine, and that virtual machine can be part of client's desktop or laptop, whatever they want to give it to us. We also ask them for advanced testing. We say, hey, there is another piece that we need you to run on a server which will do the full mapping of your network, and that's all we really ask for it. Option number 2 is same thing, we would need the solution to run on one of the server, and it's very lightweight. We are not saying that, hey, give me 32 gig memory and this and that. It's just like standard, 8 to 12 gig memory, standard disk, everything else, and all the standard OS is needed. Nothing fancy, no SQL, none of that extra cost is there. But if sometimes clients say, well, I don't want to do virtual machines, I want something physical. So we can work with a NUCs as well, and those NUCs, we install our tools on it, and we configure them, and they just plug it in. Power supply and RJ45, they plug it in, they give us, and off they do. Within 30 minutes or 1 hour, we will start pulling the data, and within less than 24 hours, we will know what exactly is happening in the network. More we stay on that collecting data, the better that is. Usually 7 business day is the full assessment, usually gives us the cloud readiness.
Okay. And then after the 7 days, typically takes us about a week or two to pull in all that data, analyze it, and come back with that remediation report, that deliverable to the client.
Yep, absolutely. Because we want to make sure that when we are doing the network analysis, we don't want to just create the reports automated and there is no human eyes are looking at it. We're making sure that, hey, this could be the use case, this could be the thing. So we want to make sure that what those are. And we also provide some remediation task as well. So if the client wants to do it, they can do it by themselves too.
Cool.
So these are some of the, one of the screenshot, what exactly that provides, right? It probably gives you guidance that, hey, what is the QoS, what is the good audio call? So this customer has a 6,934 calls within a month or within a few days time period. And out of that, they have 227 bad calls, right? And the worst is 96 calls were really bad, where users really felt it. 227 is the number that you see on the top left, is not something that client felt it was bad, but it's like, hey, it was a really borderline, and things that cross the borderline is a 96. And we give you what is the, in the 3.68, 0.45, 46, 72, that the things that we are providing you, what is the jitter, what is the packet loss, what is the round trip, and what is the average jitter is there, because those are the key things, regardless whether you have a Microsoft PBX or Ring Central or 8x8 or our own, right, TetraVX, NVX, SVX, CVX, or Cisco. They all follow the same standards. So it can give you those items very clearly over there. And we test different codecs as well. Now, one of the things that you may say that, hey, Samir, we have seen so many these monitoring tools. It all has some really nice looking graphs and colors and everything else. But when we look at those things, it makes life really hard. So we saw that too, and we said, you know, what we want to do is, I always ask the question, why? Right? Something happens, I ask why 3 to 4 times to that person, because at that time I will know I'm getting it to the bottom of the truth, right? If you ask why one time and you get an answer, then yeah, you're just taking it at face value. So we took the same approach in our tool as well. We asked multiple times, like, why that could happen? Why? Okay, you had a packet loss, but why did the packet loss happen? Oh, packet loss happened because you got some high utilization on this router. Well, why that happened? Well, at that time, there were lots of packets were going, and that router went out the memory. Okay, so why that router went out the memory? We go through all those whys, and that's where you see that critical shows up, that, hey, you have a problem that is so deep that you really need to look into it, and that's what the root cause analysis that we provide. We give you some also typical general answer as a potential resolution, because as the tool learns more and more about the hardware, we will put more details into it. But, you know, once it has that, right? Right now, we can provide all the details on a Cisco side and the Microsoft side very easily. RingCentral and 8x8 they are proprietary solutions, so they don't provide those details, so we can't provide those details, but at least you will have a full understanding what exactly the issues are. Now, this is a graph, that dashboard that you will see that, there was a call, just like we are in the call, and all of a sudden, call gets dropped without knowing anything. Like, how do you troubleshoot that? By the time you open a ticket, that data is already gone from the router. Network team will not even look at that thing. They say, okay, when next time it happens, call us. So what we heard loud and clear to our prospects and clients in the market, we say, hey, in the mid-call drop, we capture all the data, and this is where the issues are and how you can potentially fix those. These are a little bit of an advanced dashboard. Remember I told you about we do the synthetic calls. So all you see that colorful graph for, let's say, yellowish, orange, and a little bit greenish on the left-hand side, you will see that we are running synthetic transitions on different source, right? One location to another location, and what that each transition is giving us the worst quality to the best quality. First top three things that you are seeing as a bad things, if you look very closely, we are sending the traffic to Paris, Azure, and from local internet out. And what we found is the issue was with their local firewalls, Palo Alto. Their Palo Alto firewalls was running on a virtualized infrastructure. And every time it goes above capacity, it will drop all the traffic. And nobody was able to figure that out. The client was struggling for 3-4 months. We went in, we put the tool in. Within 2 days, we said, issue is right here, take a look. We took a look deep down with a why methodology. We figured out their virtualization layer was the issue because they tried to virtualize the firewall and the routers over there. So, yeah. This is another one, Skype for Business usage board, like how much usage is happening. So if you need something, you will be able to gather all the data and you will be able to provide the details as well. And all these reports, you can export it, right? So you can export in a PDF and you can share with your client and whatnot. Same thing over here again, the call analyzer. So call analyzer is anytime that you have a issue, it will give you the link and it will have all the details what exactly happened. Perfect. Synthetic call tracing. So you see on the very top, real-time QoS, you see that there is a ducks and there is a round, and it's each router, what exactly the path is taking, and it's looking at it how many milliseconds are there. If it goes above the threshold, so 0 milliseconds or it's 0.003 milliseconds or somewhere what we like to see, but if there is an issue anywhere, that round circle will go yellow or red depending on the threshold, and we will be able to trace it that, okay, at this leg of the call, you had the issue. Once again, this is the very similar data that we had. And now what we are trying to do is we are trying to predict when will you have potential degradation in your network, because we know that every month, third date, you have a lot more calls are happening. And when we do the synthetic testing, we know what the capacity is. And we will tell you that, hey, there is this much percentages are that you will run into the issues. And the more the red you have, the worse it becomes. So that's the message. So that way you are proactively enabling your prospect or your clients to say, hey, wow, I can predict what is going to take place in my network depending on the past history. This is something that I was telling you about, right? You get lots of things, but over here, look at the things that we can provide in a call analyzer. You will have a caller and calling party, or calling party and receiving party, what that phone number, that IP address, and you can see that IP address is completely different things. One has an operating system, which client version, we have everything else. On the bottom, you have a network findings, what we found on the network, what the issues are, what values we observe, what values should be, and they will be able to find all the details where the root causes were there. So now I'm going to give it back to Luke, who's going to walk us through how to identify the opportunities. Luke?
Thank you, Samir. Yeah, so identifying opportunities, you know, what kind of buzzwords or just things to keep an eye out to understand, hey, here's a good opportunity for us to do an assessment to help our clients with this transition. One of them is definitely, you know, any consideration that a client tells you they're having going from an on-premise infrastructure to anything cloud. As you can see, you know, G Suite, Salesforce, Office 365, the list goes on in regards to the applications that they could go, as well as, you know, a migration over to a voice over IP phone solution to or a current solution that they've already implemented. This doesn't necessarily always have to be a readiness assessment. It could be after the fact, after they've already made a decision to go but didn't do an assessment. This is a chance for you to go in there, understand how to fix their problems. If they're already moved to a hosted solution and are saying things like, you know, my calls keep dropping, or the calls go in and out while we're on meetings, and I have to, you know, ask someone to repeat what they'd said. If they're doing a video, as like we're doing the webinar now, if, you know, what we're discussing doesn't match what you're seeing on the, you know, the screen itself. So any type of bad experience somebody might be having could be an opportunity, you know, for you to go in, or as well as I said before, moving from on-premise to the cloud.
So before we move on to this next slide, I just want to ask, can you give us an idea of what, you know, what's the one-time cost for a client to do one of these analyses, and, you know, what's the ongoing monthly cost if they choose to keep the monitoring in place and all the whole alert system in place after they've already made the migration?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to take it, or do you want me to?
You can go for it.
Okay. So we usually charge like a $10,000 flat fee for the UCC assessment. Once you have done that part, then you can charge, you know, our charge to the partners is $2.50, and you can mark it up to 20% or 30%, depending on however you feel comfortable with it. And it's a 1-year contract.
Okay. So like, and so basically 10 grand for executing it. So we're probably looking at the sort of larger sort of clients. Not too many SMBs are going to potentially drop 10 grand, right? But obviously there's some extremely detailed analysis that's going on during this process. So, and obviously it's going to be handling more complex sort of infrastructures than your average SMB. One other thing, you know, a part of the UCC readiness thing that you had was based around wireless, and is that like a optional thing, or, I mean,
so wireless is an optional thing, because what we do is we have a person walking the floor for them with our tool set. So that's how we capture all the data, because otherwise there is no way for us to capture the wireless data. So we put that as an add-on if the customer is wanting to do that. It's a $2,500 for that, for 2 sites.
For 2 sites? Okay.
Yeah, for two sites. We usually like to do, so let me say, hey, I got this EPG client or even mid-market client, right? They have 5 sites. Do you want to do the network assessment 5 sites? Yes, we will do the UC net readiness of 5 sites. Fine, no problem. When it comes to the wireless, what we really want to do is the HQ, where the users have the more usage. That's usually where the Wi-Fi assessment really helps. Now let me give you another scenario. You are playing in an EPG. You tell them that they say, hey, I have 50 sites. Do you want to do the 50 sites network assessment? Answer is no, you don't want to do it because that process is not financially stable for us, right? You need to work with us on the pricing for that. What we say is, let's identify the sites, headquarters, large sites, medium sites, small sites, remote sites, or home office, and then pick the worst site that you have, and let's do the UC analysis of that. And whatever the findings we find, that should cover the rest of the sites as well, because assuming since you have that many sites, you are EPG, hopefully you have a standardization and things like that. Now, if they say, no, Samir, we don't really have that, what does that cost look like? Some of the companies right now we are working with, that cost could go up to $40,000 to $60,000 too, and you can still mark it up. You are still going to be much cost-effective option at that time with your prospect compared to some of the professional tools, like I'm going to give you the names. Nectar is going to charge you $130,000 easily because we compete with them every day. IR Prognosis, same category. Thousand Eyes, those guys will not give you that. They will say, okay, here you have to buy the hardware, you put it, and how many transactions our tool will run, we will charge you for that. So you cannot predict the cost, and how do you position it with your prospect, right? So this way it comes really like 40 to 50% lower price margin point, and your enterprise will know, oh wow, this is a no-brainer, I can do this thing, and I can get approval much faster.
Right.
I do want to point out that we have 3 minutes left. I'm just a time check.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's a good call. So obviously, if you feel you've got an opportunity, you can obviously either call us, USA Voice and Data, at 312-604-3070. If you go to our website under Partners, under the Partners navigation, there's a Register an Opportunity there. Again, just give a high-level understanding of who the client is, who the client contact is, and so on and so forth. That allows us to get the opportunity registered within our Salesforce, so that any opportunities that come from any discussions with those clients, etc., they all go back to you from a commissions standpoint. So that's really important. And then obviously we'll then engage the TetraVX team and pull together this internal opportunity kickoff conversation, etc., and work through from there. Do you want to just work through the rest of the slide here, Luke?
Yeah, so we'll just do an internal call with the USA Voice and Data, the partner yourself, and our team, our subject matter experts, get an understanding of what information we do know and what information we need to know going into that OKO, the opportunity kickoff, which will be with the partner, where we'll do all that discovery, scope, understand where their shortfallings are coming from, and then we can put together a scope of work proposal for them, deliverable, and then from there, right, moving forward with project and so forth.
Cool. Well, we're really getting, I think we're pretty much
the last
timing
slide
here, Luke, right?
Yeah.
We got one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Next slide here is just any questions that anybody had. I didn't see any through the chat, so want to leave it open for those that have questions. Now's your time.
There you go. Wow. silence is golden, they say, right?
Right, right.
Well, just to wrap up, I just want to thank the team over at TetraVX for putting this on, and obviously we need to thank you again for taking your lunch hour with us, etc. Every quarter we try and focus on a different sort of area of business. Obviously, this last quarter's been around cloud. Q2's just around the corner. We're going to have another a bunch of lunchtime webinars. Encourage you to take this time to continue to educate yourselves on the amazing amount of opportunities that are available to you through our network of supplier partners like TetraVX. And if you have any questions, any opportunities, any clients which immediately spring to mind, like, oh boy, this might really work for them, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to start a conversation and see what might boil out. With that, thank you one and all, and we'll call it a day.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much
for
your time.
Thank you.
And Sam, over to you so that you may put it on the website.
Perfect. Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very